So can you actually believe I'm doing this the second time? Oh my god. Sometimes with OBS, I can't stand. Freya, what's going on here? Oh, we recorded a video on Alt Tech. We haven't done that in years. Freighter, are we gonna have to reenact that or something? No, we're not gonna do no such thing. Like, look, this is a video on Kick Automod about Kick Automod, but also about Altec because we haven't done that in years. So I was thinking of doing one of these, and I have never done one on Mechtretica. You notice right now, I'm gonna be replacing this with a picture here, but basically I'm looking at OBS and I'm seeing the audio input capture, and it's working now. So what happened was I was fired up because I'm going to mention why I was fired up, why I made this video and stuff. And I didn't realize every once in a while OBS will just forget what you put in for what your inputs or outputs are. Like so that's the one thing I'll definitely say is never ever ever make anything on the internet well kind of angry because you'll do something you'll forget something and, I should have thought about it because there was no, the mixer's not showing any kind of, activity. I should have thought about it. Well, that's the problem, Frater. You get pissed off and then yeah, so we're going to talk about moderation, aren't we? Yeah, kick moderation. So Asmongold's kick moderation. Oh boy, here we go. Talking about his kick channel. Auto kick his kick auto mod is set so high. It's so powerful. It it probably has so many buzzwords. It will literally time you out for an hour for God knows whatever you say. And you don't know, you're walking on eggshells with that thing. That kick auto mod it's just it's terrible. I've been timed out from channels and sometimes I don't even know what I've done. And it's because I it's some buzzword kicks that thing off because otherwise it doesn't really understand what you're saying. But it does understand when someone says, "Oh, you need a ban for this buzzword." Oh, great. So So then the automod does that, you know, eh, and it's one thing if it was like 5 minutes. I actually had it give me a timeout like 2 weeks ago. Okay. So it gave me like a 5 minute timeout and for just saying that AI slop is kind of funny. That's about it. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Freighter, the very picture we're using for this is like AI slop. It's a very good picture. Clipchamp did not Clipchamp, Copilot. Copilot did a pretty good job on this one. I wasn't expecting much. Like I just said a white mask because I didn't want to say V for Vendetta mask because it might be seen as some DC copyright thing. Because Copilot is extremely sensitive with anything that's like you can't say Taylor Swift or something. You can't say something that is considered either a real person or you can't say something that is considered to be a copyright infringement. It's very strict and almost to the point that really with Copilot, a lot like with Kick Automod, you're pretty much kind of walking eggshells. It's kind of sad because after a while you develop like censored speech where you develop a instinct that helps to survive in that environment but it's not guaranteed, it's like the Imperial Empire, those stormtroopers, sometimes they just shoot you, and so, well, yeah, we might get I don't care. I don't care, I just don't care. So, so, so you don't know what you're gonna do. So, yeah, so the Kick Auto mod And I was kind of like looking at the settings of it last night because I have kind of this channel that is like just like for bet for chatting really. It's not really in viewing. It's not meant to be like a serious branded channel. The real reality is we do actually have no, no, I don't want to mention. Yeah, that's right, because you don't know what their policy is on more than one channel. Yeah, they might get mad at that. So, but we did. Let's just say we experimented with Kick when it first started. That's before like Ice Poseidon or any of these other people like Aiden Ross showed up. So back when like the biggest like streamer was like Suspendus and Heel Mike or somebody. Yeah. Actually, it may have been before Heel Mike, so it was like really early. Um, so mostly I was watching because of IRL because a lot of IRL was coming over there. Um, so again, we're going to talk about alt tech, I guess, but it's not going to be for an hour. Freighter. So we had no sound at all. You're getting really aggressive. You were making the video. You're going to premiere it on YouTube. You're even going to do a Twitch stream. I've been doing Twitch. I did a Bible Twitch stream the other night because um problem is YouTube being affiliated with Google, I have to do all kinds of sign in stuff. I have to get on my phone and I was like, I don't feel like doing any of this crap. Like Twitch doesn't seem to be as strict with that. Like you don't have to get on your phone. Your two-factor authentication with the phone. I try to avoid having a smartphone if I can. But I had to get one recently because it was starting to become too problematic where there's too many things I can't get into, and that's a big problem with Google. They require a two-factor authentication with phone. It's just oh, give me a good pay phone. That's exactly. Give me a good pay phone. Two-factor authentication with a payphone. That would be funny. So so I still want to do some kind of video, but it's not going to be an hour. Well, of course not. You don't got that fire now. It's no, no. I've calmed down. So, yeah. So again, about the auto mod. See, there was a time, and this is where we get into the alt. We could segue into the conversations of alt tech, but like again about kick mod. But it's even Twitch has an auto mod too. So, like for example, the channel was Asmongold, and so I had just put in that basically, he was playing a game where they don't have male and female genders. They have body type 1 and body type 2, which is DEI. He had censored the word DEI. He said that his chatters are not allowed to have any kind of political talk at all. He just wants emotes. He pretty much wants just emotes. So I went to his Twitch chat to see if the same similar the same similar phrase would be censored. By the way, my throat isn't good. Trying to do this video. I may just keep this down to 15 minutes because I just try to get my point across and go. Because I was looping an awful lot when I did that last video. So maybe it's good it didn't work out. You never want to start looping the same thing over and over. So basically, the whole point is with Asmongold is that he can talk mad talk. He can talk anything he wants, but as a chatter, you're basically in shackles. You're walking on eggshells. You can't talk about most things because if it includes a buzzword, now Twitch won't time you out for it though. They'll just not they'll just not put the message on the screen. They'll just say, well, Automod caught it, and they won't call it Automod. They'll say the mods caught it. No mod has like advanced tools like that. An Automod It's Automa. Kick does not do work this way. It does something much more crueler, and it basically times you out. It doesn't say, "Oh, your message wasn't sent." I got a 5-minute timeout, and then all of a sudden now today an hour. An hour is a long time. I mean, it would be one thing if you said something that was truly broke the terms of service, or you're bullying the streamer. No, just casual conversation about the DI and video games. But oh no, apparently that's not good. Well, and you would say, why would Asmund set things that hard? It's because Asmund likes to say he's a conservative, but he's said in the past he's a socialist. He said he's a socialist, guys. I mean, you can look back. You can ask any search engine, and it'll flat out tell you he said that. Why? But you go, well, why? Why does he support Trump then? Why does he support all these things? And it's like, guys, he supports all that stuff because he he can't use the word that actually truly says what he is. And he's not a libertarian, he's not a conservative, and he's clearly not a socialist. He's an authoritarian. Authoritarians like authority. They like clamping down on things. And of course, unfortunately, he doesn't understand that in most of history where it gets really maximally tough like that, he would be in prison right now if for the things he's talking about. That's the thing is with our country, we have pretty free speech. So a lot of times it does allow you to LARP and pretend to be, whatever kind of authoritarian type figure you want to be, as long as you're not talking violence and you end up with undercover cops watching you or something, undercover feds or something. So with like Asmund, he kind of plays that, and but he can't. You would say, well, why can't he just say he's an authoritarian? Well, he can't because he can't say that because of Twitch, and Twitch would clearly finally ban him, even though their favorite their favorite streamer is Hassan Piker, and he loves authoritarianism as well in the terms of well, Frater, we might get in trouble if we. Yes, yes, you know why he talks about. I don't need to go. I kind of almost said it, so it doesn't matter. But you know what I mean. He really likes that stuff, and actually Hassan is actually flat out said he hates liberals. He hates people who believe in liberty and liberals and things like that. So just understand, some of these people we watch are kind of authoritarians. They just don't go out and say it because they don't want to piss off like Antifa and stuff like that, and things like that. So, so then with um, so many times what happens is with these guys though, is they have a platform where they can sing as loud as they want, but you're down there in the crowd with the chatters, and you got shackles and chains and clamps on you, and you are not allowed to say a word, or else you get timed out or banned or whatever. I mean, in the kick Asmund Gold channel, you're almost becoming like a fugitive. And it's funny, and the reason I laugh about that is because I laugh about it because I'm actually extremely tame as far as chatters go. Like maybe I put up some emotes or something. That's about it. So again, I guess we'll get to I think that kind of covers the auto mod thing. So so then there is all tech talk because of course I miss Bitwave because Bitwave didn't have any mods. Why? Oh, that's because, well, Freighter, it's because Xander, he didn't know how to make that as a feature, is having you can the streamer can assign mods. Yeah, and he didn't know that actually that made the site really great because you can say anything you wanted, and you could. So then, and then of course the thing that the whole thing just worse is that but okay, so with you're trying to get back to your talk points, that's bad. Like we don't have this problem most of the time with audio issues. Like we don't. We've been having a pretty good run. I mean, I do the video, I play the sound, it plays sound. But the problem was with OBS, sometimes you have to reassign your equipment, headsets, microphones, etc., back into the sources. Because even though it says audio input capture there that you set up when you hooked up your OBS, um, it's still not. It won't take. You have to actually. Oh, I can try to get to my point. Well, my throat has not been good since I had this cold 2 weeks ago. Um, that you got to set that stuff up. So, but Bitwave, what happened to Bitwave? Well, Bitwave just got too big. Bitwave got too big, and what I was doing in the original video that was good is this to show the history of an alt text site, its rise and fall. So when an alt text site first opens, it has a couple people uploading and stuff. And then, it'll get a lot of, let's just say, supporters of the German chancellor from World War II. So it'll get those kinds of people, because the site is trying to get big. So it's going to accept everybody in. Okay, so it'll get those kind of people, and initially initially the site does, as long as it stays low profile, not many people, it does just fine on its own. Okay, and, the server costs, that's the thing, is the server costs will remain relatively what it is, when that administrator started the site. So then the next step, of course, is word of mouth. People start talking, because they're like, wow, I can kind of do whatever I want on that site. I'm going to share the news. Well, sharing the news is going to actually kill it. You're saying, don't care, don't care, just write it up. As Ole Anderson said, write it up. Um, so it's going to just destroy it. So then the next step is, it does start to get more popular. Well, guess what happens? Well, now the server costs are going to go up because a lot of times they charge you by how many people are visiting the site and using it, especially if it's a live streaming site. If it's a video uploading site, it's still kind of the same deal, I think. So, you know, then then at first, there are different walls to break through when it comes to starting a alt tech site. At first, there's no walls because nobody knows who you are. Just people are finding you just from doing random searches on different, like alternative live stream site or something like that, or but then all of a sudden, you're getting a bigger audience. Well, the thing that killed Bitway was that you're gonna have to start making some money if you're paying out of pocket for this stuff. So you're going to start needing to accept donations, because money is people start to come in. You're starting to get close to the first wall, and the first wall is advertisers, media. So advertisers, they need a fairly censored website because they want to know that all their, you know, this is a very friendly site towards all advertisers. You can have children on it. I mean, children shouldn't even be on most of the internet, guys. I mean, and parents shouldn't even be like having an open computer like that. Like literally your kid, like you should be sitting there by them if they're on the internet. Now it gets more complicated once they get into school and stuff, so the school might want them to actually do independent searches, but it's your kids are going to get into things they probably shouldn't get into. And unfortunately, in with the British government, that's already kind of set in, and now that affects everybody. Everybody has to give their ID. so, so what happens next? Well, you got more people now. Now you need advertisement, sponsorship, or if you're going to stay independent, which you should, you don't want to censor your site, then you need to accept donators. See what happens. The administrator is if this is really in his heart to do this site, really in his heart, then he won't accept any kind of money from like corporations. But if he just wants to do a just wants to sell the business, sells it, some people do that. Some people just make companies to sell them off later. like some people, you may have even worked for some companies that initially the company was doing pretty good, and then it got bought out by somebody. And I hate to tell you, but the people you worked for, that was their aim. Their aim was to make some money and you know be able to leave, and they'll probably those people now make a new company and with the same aim. It's kind of like it's like real estate. It really literally is a form of real estate flipping, that is. So actually, it might be better that we did it this way because now you're cooler headed and well, yeah, it's like you got a script in your head. So you're not going off, you're just looping and ranting and raving. You're actually a little bit on course. So what happens is now that the alt tech site, it's starting to get popular, and it's struggling with its cloud server. Initially with cloud servers and stuff, if they don't know who you are and they're not hearing complaints, they don't care. They take the money and go. So that's why, like for example, Kiwi Farms, they have to find like an European type site or a European type server like Russia or China or whatever that just takes the money and go. Just takes the money and go, doesn't care what you talk about. They don't care if people are upset about what you're talking about. So then what happens next is, you know, the media somehow gets word of your site and they say it's a hate site. Did you remember what I just talked about, Mr. Peck, earlier on? Yes, you mentioned that when that alt text site first starts, there's a lot of wow, hardcore sort of uh, politically winged people, very extreme politically winged people. It's probably good we did do this a second time because I could kind of filter that, so I'm not saying that the issue is a little bit to the left or to the right. I'm just saying it's a hardcore political extremist viewpoints. Uh, we're getting around the filter. We're getting around the censorship because we do post it on YouTube, and YouTube can be wonky as far as censorship. It could be either really bad here, or it could be kind of okay if you know how to you know how to walk the line. Unfortunately, the walking the line you fall off the line sometimes. So, are you good on like you're yeah, yeah. I'm just being a little overly paranoid. I'm just a little overly paranoid. I'm like constantly looking at my mic, making sure I had pressed everything because I don't want to sit here for another hour and be like, oh no. Okay, so basically, so now because of that original sort of extremist um, content providers, because of them, they're giving some bad attention to the platform. So now, and look, you said, "Well, I accept freedom of speech." Most of the world is authoritarian, but what they do is in the countries where it's very dependent on elections, they will claim to be liberal or progressive or something. But it's actually more of a moral authority in those countries. Like in the case of Britain, Keir Starmer and his Labour Party, and even the Tories, are very moral authority, meaning like they make laws based on, oh, but if we protect the children, protect the babies, we protect everybody. They feel like that's why they say, like, Big Brother over there or a nanny state. They've always been called the nanny state, and that's because of the moral authoritarianism of England and United Kingdom. And so, they've now you got the problem, the media, they're calling you an extremist site. Well, now, of course, now that means you can't get any. Now you've been blocked by the advertisers. So you but you know what? Let's say your alt text site is going to be pretty gun ho on this, and you're going, I don't care. That's true. I mean, first off, the media, they can't shut you down. All they can do is cry, cry, cry. But they do know where to hit you, and that's to give bad attention, and you could end up losing your cloud, the cloud server that hosts you. That's the whole point. If the cloud server cares. But if you have like an Amazon cloud server, well, they don't want all this bad attention to say, oh, we got this alt tech site, we're going to kick them. So you might end up having, but here's the thing is you would think, oh, that's the end of the road review. No, it isn't, because there's a lot more of those sites out there. Like Kiwi Farms, again, is another great example of an alt tech site that actually survived. It survived and still survives. So then you get into the last wall. And I like to say this wall is like diamond. It's pretty diamond. You can't really get past this wall. And then it's the government. You can't if the government so like I'll give you an example. BitChute had to eventually start censoring all the political extremists. It doesn't mean you can't be political. You understand if you're considered a hate group, that's when they censor you. Of course, my content was never hate any of that stuff. It was just, comedy or conspiracy theory. And they still like the conspiracy theory stuff on there. It's still on there. Um so now the governments, you may have certain governments though. Oh no. Oh, that throat again, huh? Hey, we're getting through this. We're getting through this. So now you got, for example, in BitChute, the Italian government didn't like the content they had on there, and gave them a warning that if they don't censor it, they are going to block their site from Italy. Now you would go, well, I don't need Italy. Well, in their case, they took it seriously apparently, and then they started to do that. Um, that is the ultimate test of But now by this point, if a government knows of your existence, you know darn well that the administrators are going to start getting pressure from even their home government. I mean, if the Italy government knows about you, you know darn well your home government, even the United States, you're going to start getting pressure. It was probably pretty true with BitChute that, not BitChute, but Bitwave. That with Bitwave, there was a lot of political hardcore extremists, and I remember being in circles that we would talk about it, and they were pretty probably sure the feds were monitoring everything. Like monitoring the administrator, probably even working with them behind the scenes, because you don't want to get on that bad side. So they're going to give them all the information they need. But I always used to thought that it's not good to shut someone away like that. Like because well, yeah, because if someone says extremist things, you should allow them on a platform to say it, so then you can actually pay attention to them. To at least you know where they are. You don't want them hidden somewhere building a group in secret. Because trust me, they will they'll make their own platform. Um, but nonetheless, what I'm going to say is that the all tech sites struggle because they have so much fighting against them. From the server costs, as they start to get popular, and the popularity is actually a bad thing. 'Cause it's a bad thing for their existence, because eventually it's going to come down to it that their own home governments are going to finally come aware of it, and then they're going to be stressed to change to appease the authorities and the authoritarian processes of this world. And so and then, because see, in like the West, well, we don't have like a Chinese style authoritarianism. We have a process with corporations where they use money to censor, to silence people. Meaning, you can't like for example, you would think, well, I could say what I want. Well, someone sues you, and then they basically make you use your entire bank account on lawyers. They essentially have financially silenced you, because that's what happened with Library and Odyssey. The SEC went after them for the LBRY coin, and they didn't have the money like XRP. XRP actually survived that. Did you know that? They actually survived that. I'm not like I'm recommending XRP, but I'm just saying is they actually had the money to actually weather that storm. Odyssey didn't. And so when we talk about alt tech, Odyssey was a big one. It was originally called L Library. And yes, I still do have the library app, and it does still work. And basically what the library app is, it's not a website, but it's an intranet, and it connects to a server. You can upload things. People can see what each other upload, and you can watch whatever you want. Although uploading is hard now on the library app, and I was playing around with it earlier. Um, it's complicated because it runs it runs on on a blockchain crypto coin. So, say I want to upload a video, so I have to put, even if it's a 0.3 of a coin, like just a tiny, tiny, tiny little dash amount. It's just a system of, that's how they use it to mark, a video, or how to put a video in the blockchain system they designed. So, unfortunately, when if you were to like say you took my advice, say I'm joining library today, and I'm just gonna share content with just the library users. Um, well, the bad news is that you have to find that coin then, because see, back in the day, if you started with library, they used to give it every day. The way they used to give it is you would either subscribe to videos, you would and when I say subscribe, I don't mean like a membership. Like you pay $5 a month or something. No, no, I mean like just follow, and just follow, or you know, comment or something. Just do some engagement, and they would give you some LBRY. And so with Odyssey, so what happened was the government basically sued Odyssey out of existence. The good news is the servers, they've kept the servers up. I mean, I know you're gonna about ready to say, wait, I'm watching this video right now and I got Odyssey on my screen. What's going on? The people who originally run that site, they, because of what the government did, the government clearly, because they can't pay the government's just gonna take everything. Well, for whatever reason, I think whoever owns the servers, they're kind of immune to what the government's doing over there. And they can keep running Odyssey. You can go over there now, it's fine. You can upload videos, and of course I've always had the problem with Odyssey is they never show, if you don't have a lot of followers, your videos won't show up on the main page. Um it'll, like, if someone's following you, they'll see your new content. That's fine. But they even told me that they uh they want people to develop a following on social media, and then have them direct those people over to their site. And as you could kind of figure out with Saturn Ground, we Saturn Ground Metro Trek, we don't have any kind of following whatsoever. Yeah, we've kind of struggled with having a proper following. It's just we're just weird, and weird is good. Being weird is good sometimes. A little chaos. So, I said about the alt tech sites, a lot of times where their downfall happens is because they just go broke. The amount of donos doesn't like keep the site up. If the original creator of the site, he may not have the heart anymore for it because it's just become too much of a monster, and it's become too big. It's that, and so you would ask me, well, ask me the question then, Mr. Peck. Well, is there any alt tech sites you recommend right now in 2025? And the answer is no, I don't know of any. because the ones I do are wearing out. I thought I heard a rumor VidMe might come back. And yeah, and that, we would have to go back over. We would have to. That's where we started. I actually kind of said that the Saturn Grod and well, of course, um, if we probably what would have to happen is if we went over to VidMe. Now, it's up to Doc Matty and it's up to Mr. Pennypacker. They would need to develop some kind of coalition on VidMe and maybe have it just call it Saturn Grod versus Metrotrecica or something like that, or the idea that we kind of share content, and unfortunately right now, you even try to talk to Doc Mandy about Saturn Grod Productions, he starts losing his mind. He's like, I think he wants to own that. Yeah, I mean, look, it's kind of like you're in, we got to be loyal, Mr. Peck. I know, we if we had to go to war with Saturn Ground Productions, then we have to go to war with Saturn Ground Productions. It's what where Doc Matty wants, buddy. Wow. Okay, but yeah, it's kind of funny. I kind of thought we were doing this video, it was going to be like a shoot type of video, like a shoot interview. We were just going to not talk in character, and it's like very much in the Sattergrad universe. It's kind of is, yeah. We kind of always we don't entirely leave character. We keep it well into the Sattergrad universe, but there's a way we go about it. It's kind of like the Sattergrad universe reflects on the real universe. That's the way I see it. Well, and then so what happens is the owner either sells up or he simply or he gives the code to somebody else or he I don't know. Most of them, that's the story. And I would just made the argument from the original video that look, I just honestly think that if you if you find a little alt text site out in the middle of nowhere, kind of like a little space trucker diner out in the middle of the universe, just keep it to yourself. It's like a secret society, like it's like walking up and you just give someone a weird handshake, and they're looking at you like what? And you just nod. You just nod, and either they either they smile and understand, or they're just confused. Either are fine. Well, it's getting to the point where when you really think about it, Freighter, that it's kind of like when you invite people over to your house. So maybe there's some people you don't want to invite. Yeah, I mean, do you want the whole world to know where your house is? Do you? I don't think so. I think that's inviting some kind of trouble. So that's kind of it, And originally the original video was just kind of jumping all over the place, but this is kind of the original point was to just talk about the rise and fall of an alt tech site. And you ask me, well, where are the sites now? Well, mostly streaming sites you hear about, they mostly just like post like um they're mostly illegal streaming sites that have like sports and stuff, and maybe like they like stream Netflix stuff or something. I don't know. But I was using FreeTube for a little bit, but YouTube interferes so much with their signals that it just that site's almost unusable now. Um, that's of course you can't upload content there. That's just it's a way of looking at YouTube videos without actually being on YouTube. But you just get IP blocked after a while, so it's not very useful. for the long term. You just gotta use like whatever, you know. So that's just kind of it, Mister Peck. Is there anything else? Well, not really, Frater. I mean, uh, talk about the struggles of we've dealt with, with just you talk about the auto mod and all that. That I really don't think there is anything much else to talk about. Yeah, well, see, the problem with the original video was I was starting to loop too much. Because when you're angry, you just start, well, why is this like this? Why is this like this? Why is this like this? And maybe it's good to like actually like practice that for a little bit, and then when you actually record it, then you actually are like got a streamlined script in your head. Like, oh, this is how you actually say it instead of just like sounding like DSP or something. Yeah, he loops a lot. Well, he no, he's got to get that W champions. He's got that W champions in his head. Mhm. So I think that's about it. I thought this would be a neat kind of video. And yes, to know the story, yes, I got untimed out. The timeout eventually ended. And it was kind of funny. The comment I put in after I got untimed after my timeout ended on Asmongold's kick is I I warned everybody. I said, "Beware the auto mod. He is like a Jabberwocky with talons and sharp teeth, looking to feed on buzzwords." And I didn't get timed out for saying that. Yeah, I didn't get timed out. Didn't get timed out. So it showed whoever the human mod was probably was nodding their head. It's probably going, "Yeah, that thing is crazy." And it's like it's buzzwords. I just put in a post that probably in terms I probably should have been banned for. But Asmongold was busy over at Twitch. I don't even think he looks at the kick site. But and as for his mods, I guess as long as you're not saying something that's a hate speech thing. I'm not even entirely sure he has any mods over at Kick. I think it's just that auto mod. And the auto mod you can get around if you know what the buzzwords are. Well, after getting timed out, you usually learn. But it doesn't make you want to keep posting there. It doesn't. It's just stupid. I can remember the old days of Justin TV, and it was crazy the things you can get timed out for, but it wasn't like today. Well, like, yes, like in the old days, you could actually have some pretty filthy talk back then. But, like now you're just having casual conversations and you're getting timed out for very strange reasons. And I think it's just the buzzwords in casual conversations that just get you timed out. And it's like it's stupid because it doesn't like Asmon's kick channel is like it's clear it's just meant for backup. He doesn't care about its engagement. He doesn't care about its views because he's got like in the case of what is it called slow mode. He's got the most intense slow mode you can ever imagine. He's got a slow mode of like geez, like he's got like a slow mode of like a minute almost, 40 seconds to a minute, and it's very random, and it's just like it's so hard to keep in the flow of the conversation. And you need to understand, I try to keep up the topic. It's not like I'm talking about random things in the chat. I just try to, whatever. And look, it's healthy to be able to um to talk, to be part of a conversation. It's called being human. It's what God puts on the earth to do. So, and but that's when someone develops a censorship model, because Asman is very much an authoritarian, and authoritarians like that. They like clamping down on you. They like sending those, they like the boots on the ground. So, well, I gotta admit, Frater, it's been almost an hour. You said you're not doing that. You're gonna probably do 15 minutes. So, well, as long as I don't start coughing like crazy, because I had a cold 2 weeks ago. If I can keep the flow going in a certain way, I can make this an hour video again. But I'm gonna have to go, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on YouTube, and so far I think this is pretty clean. So I'll put it on YouTube. I'll then now you think I'm nuts. I've been doing like a Bible video on Twitch, which I am gonna be honest with you. I When I did it, I said, if this gets the channel nuked, which is funny because I literally made this channel like back when Twitch began. If this is the thing that gets a nuke, then fine. You know, I just hope that they give me a process to quit my Turbo subscription. Um, uh, well, Frater, I wouldn't trust them. Those staff members they have are weird. They are weird, but but of course, uh, there was kind of a conversation I'm starting to remember from the last video we did. We also talked about how with Kick, how it's really still being too much of a Twitch clone, or it's being a Twitch clone. It's they claim, well, it's because when they first started, they kind of wanted to be different. Like they wanted to kind of let a lot of the people on from, what, they went for a similar issue as what I mentioned with a lot of the alt tech sites. But see, the owner comes from Australia, and Australia is a very authoritarian country. As far as like again, when I mentioned about moral authoritarianism, there's sometimes civil authoritarianism, and that's when there's hard rules that you're not against the government. With a moral authoritarianism, it's about moral actions. Like, you could criticize the government, say, like, I don't like Keir Starmer or whatever, and you're not going to end up getting thrown in jail. But what they're going to do is say, oh, you made a comment about this issue against this group, you're under arrest. That's a moral authoritarianism. That's strict. That is strict. Like the Tommy Robinsons, the situation there. And so that's tough. So so with Kick, you know, the first, I remember the beginnings of Kick, and I would say with Kick, they started out, before they got to that first wall, which is like the advertiser wall, the commercial media. Before they got to that wall, they accepted in gambling streams. They still have gambling streams, but now they set the rule that they can only be about stake, though. Although now they're losing some of those people to other casinos, and they're not happy about that. So then we're not posting this on Kick. I'm taking. No, I gotta OBS is a bit annoying with that. I have to actually physically put in the server address because they don't have Kick down as a default list of I mean, they got like stuff from India as far as on that list. And they don't have Kick. They do not like Kick, which is makes it a bit awkward. So then, you know, I think their goal was to get like commercials and stuff so you would have ads and stuff on your videos. And Eddie was never able to get it because of all the bad attention the site got from others from its streamers. So they started to become more like Green Twitch, where they just kind of started to kind of admit, oh yeah, well, we're just going to be just as control freakish as Twitch. So then it's streamers have pushed back, and sometimes they kind of like bend the knee a little bit to that because they realize that, yeah, you know I mean, we do have to actually be somewhat different because if you're not, you might as well stay on Twitch. But I yeah, so I think, like I said, they've get their break. But way I feel it with Kick is they haven't gotten past the media wall. They haven't said to their user base, we're going to believe in you and we're going to let you still kind of say and do whatever you want. Well, no, they don't. They've actually many ways. So many are starting to believe Kick has actually become stricter than Twitch because I think all they want to do is be green Twitch. They just want to be Twitch 2 or Twitch B. You got Twitch A, Twitch B. They just want to be the sister version of that. They don't want to compete against Twitch now. They pretty much just want to be like, Kick's Twitch's little friend, and that's kind of it. And that's just it, and then they sometimes it see with Kick it depends week to week. Sometimes they bend the knee to one model of censorship, and then they're like, okay, we see reason, but it just seems like every week. And now I guess they're not going to have like they are cutting back on live events, so they're not going to pay. If you have a live event somewhere, they're not going to pay for it because they just because it leads to always bad publicity. Well, yeah, they are. Yeah, they're definitely not in the vein of those alt tech sites like we mentioned earlier in the show. Nope, no, they're not like that at all. They are growing, they are getting bigger, but remember what I said in the beginning of the video about alt tech sites. When you get big enough, then eventually you have to deal with governmental pressures, and that's when a lot of times they'll bend the knee because they don't want the feds to come down on them and start getting blocked from countries. So I think that's pretty much it. It's just like the sum total of the whole video is just, the Kick Auto mod is problematic. You're walking on eggshells on specific channels that use it. Well, see, the problem is, Freighter, and I hate to keep continuing this, but like if I go to Asmon's channel, I could say something and get timed out. But then I could go to like Ice Poseidon's channel and say the same thing and not get timed out by the auto mod because it's also user. You can actually change the auto mod to act on your wishes. So if you get like if say for example you don't like it when someone says tomatoes, um, so you can time them out for 10 minutes or an hour. If somebody says this, you can time them out for an hour. But here's the thing. Once I say, you know what I really don't like? Tomatoes. Now I'm timed out for an hour because the auto mod doesn't know the difference. It didn't know the difference. It didn't know I was actually against the same thing that the streamer is against. That's a problematic thing. And you know what? Kick doesn't care. They just do it to appease everybody. At this rate, they might as well just have it be emote only. I mean, because if they're going to be that sensitive, the only time I personally would say that you should heavily censor a chat room is if you're having church or you're having Christian prayer time or something, that you should turn off comments or something. And I've kind of thought about that for Bible related stuff that really because if you get people asking for prayers, that's fine. But majority of the time I've never gotten anyone like that. Which makes me a little sad because, I would love to pray for somebody. But I usually just get people, usually I don't get comments, so I usually don't have to turn them off. But then every once in a while, you get someone who's like, "Well, I don't understand why you have this intro. Why you like?" They get all whiny, like, "Well, if you don't like it, you can just make your own video. You make your own video, do the same thing, and then don't have that intro. Like, it's not that hard. I mean, you just use like if you have Windows 11, you have Clipchamp. You literally the software that comes with your computer, just like the days of Windows Movie Maker. You can just slap something together. That's pretty much all I do every show is slap stuff together. With um, and then I play video games. I got Battlefield 6 the other day, and I love it. It works good on my computer, and it's just the only issue is like with keyboard and mouse. Like I keep trying to pull out my repair tool, and it doesn't want to work. I but then when I use controller, it works. It's kind of silly, but still a very fun game, and it pretty much nails down what I think a Battlefield game should be. It's more like Battlefield 3 actually, which is really good. But yeah, this is kind of it. Well, we did a good job. We got this video pretty much over an hour. It got pretty much to what it should be. I'm trying to think of something Frater, that we talked about in the original video, but I think we nailed everything. From Care to Asmongold to Automod to Alt-Tech sites, the history of Alt-Tech, practically. Yeah, it's been a very good video. But remember, we're in the risk of looping, and you don't want to loop. So we gotta stop recording, stop recording, stop recording.
The Books of Freedom by Robert Hunter. The Books of Freedom focuses on the freedom God has given us. The book focuses on Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Jesus and the Gospels, the United States Constitution, and the early Christian handbook, the Didache. The book is essential for libertarians and Christians.